Russ Mitchell, CFB. Russ Mitchell, CFB on the Twitter account. College football news, a lead SEC columnist, a Heisman voter. He does it all. Russ Mitchell, I'm glad to be able to feature you again. I hope you're doing well, man.
Let's kick some tires and light some fires.
Hey, I got to send you this promo that Marquise just aired, and it got me fired up. It was when you were up in Ann Arbor last year talking about Jim
I remember that.
Oh, it's great, man. I mean, it was talking about the Russ Mitchell groupies and all these little guys that love you. But it's good to have you back, man. How was the off season?
Good. I slept. I got a lot of sleep, so that's good. Took the family on a big trip, which we do every year, and and then came home to this. Isn't it amazing how August rolls around and it's just like the skies part and football news just drops out of the sky like a big boom.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And Russ, before we get started in the SEC West, because I know we're going to talk Alabama, Texas A&M, LSU, Auburn. You have any thoughts on what's happening up in Columbus, Ohio?
Shocked. Aren't you shocked? It's kind of like the Florida player who got pulled over with the loaded AK-15, AR-15 in his car. And it makes you think, well, who was the offensive coordinator back when Urban Meyer was running that loose ship out there in Gainesville? And it was Mullen, and now he's there, and boom, guys are getting pulled over with AR-15s in their car again. And I want to give Mullen as much of the, as much credit as you can, but come on, man. And as far as Urban Meyer goes, listen, Urban Meyer might be certainly one of the greatest coaches of our time. But that cat, there's a lot. He presents himself up as being a choir boy. Say what you want about Nick, okay? But Nick doesn't want to be anybody's friend. Saban doesn't, he doesn't go around trying to present that he's a choir boy. He says, I'm going to use every rule to my advantage. We're going to celebrate our victory for one day, and then it's back to work, right? Take no prisoners. This is the way it's going to be. Urban tries to present himself out as being a choir boy when he is the furthest thing in the world from a choir boy.
And maybe that's why the college football world has turned on on Urban Meyer this afternoon. It's crazy.
Well, I'm not exaggerating, y'all. I know he looks like a choir boy, and I know he talks like a choir boy. He is the furthest thing in the world away from a choir boy. And listen, this sport of ours is dirty. College football is dirty. And being a head coach in college football, you got to do a lot of things. You got to stretch a lot of envelopes, right, to be successful. And it's like I've always said, particularly in the SEC, you can get a recruiting violation or two, and most of us will look the other way. You take your slap on the wrist and a few scholarship reductions, but you're not going to get fired. This is hardball. It's a tough sport. But there's no room for this. If what is being reported is true, there is no room for looking the other way when crimes are being committed, particularly crimes against children or women. If you know that's going on and you look the other way, in any age, you should be done. But particularly, in this climate we're in today, you're toast.
Well, and Russ, and I don't mean to – we're going to get to the SEC, but I want to hit this. I said earlier, I don't know how you could lay your head down knowing – you're sitting there wondering, is this lady going to be alive the next morning?
Exactly.
And you're sitting there – to me, there's a part of just doing the right thing.
Well, remember, this was for those of you who don't know, you can probably figure out what it is we're talking about. If you've actually have a life and been working today, Urban Meyer, and this was back in I think it was 2015, right? That all of this happened.
It was.
So this
when it
is
started.
a little bit.
It's when it started, but it continued for years.
Yeah. So we're all a little bit more aware, I think, now, and certainly there's no excuse for doing that today. And there was no excuse for doing it back then either. So, and this, by the way, is the same thing. If guys like Urban frickin' Meyer and Joe Pa, two guys that own their towns, that own their states, right? That if those guys can't step up and do the right thing, and we're not talking about a recruiting violation, right? Tressel lost his job for basically recruiting violations and lying about them, If guys like Joe Pa can't do the right thing, Joe Pa owned the whole state. If guys like that can't stand up and say, look, I know this is going to reflect badly on my program, but we got to do something about this because this is just wrong. If guys like that try to hide stuff, then what are the younger coaches supposed to think? What are they supposed to do? What sort of example does that set for coaches who, are making for the first time $1.5 million a year and see the big brass ring in front of them? This is just sick. If I want to keep saying if, because let's just wait and find out if it's true. Because we have a tendency to just jump on things before they've been, the problem is then we spin. Then one side spins, the other side spins. Everybody goes into their corner and doesn't even listen to the other side. But if this is true, then he should lose his job today.
All right, so let's get in the conversation here. Let's talk about Alabama Crimson Tide football. We got to get your thoughts. We got Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. This is the quarterback competition conversation that will not go away. Russ Mitchell, what do you think?
And the fascinating thing is, if we just segue away from Alabama for just one sec,
okay.
This is if you like quarterback play, shame on you. But if you do this is the era of the quarterback in college football, and if you're a quarterback guy or girl, this is going to be your year, because we have more quarterbacks right now, good quarterbacks in the SEC than 20 years. I mean, better than 2013. You got Drew Lock, who might be the number one pick in the NFL coming out of Missouri. You got Fromm over at Georgia. You got Bentley at South Carolina, Fitzgerald at Mississippi State, who's a dark horse for the Heisman. We haven't even mentioned Stidham. if his shoulder's good. You got Shermer at Vanderbilt. If Shermer was playing football for Alabama, he'd be a household name. And if Tua was playing in Vandy, no one would know who he is, right? Shermer's a very good quarterback. We haven't even mentioned Tua or Jalen yet. You got Tiamu at Ole Miss. You got Burrow maybe at LSU. We have so many quarterbacks right now in the SEC that this is going to be the era of the court. This is going to be a great year for quarterbacks.
All right, so you sidestepped the question just like Nick
I
Saban.
did.
Just like Nick Saban.
Although I didn't take up 14 of the 15 minutes to do it. Listen, here's the thing about Alabama, and y'all are so spoiled, it's ridiculous. Yeah, only 3 starters returned on defense. Virtually the entire coaching staff is replaced. You play in the SEC West, and you're still likely to be favored in every single game. So who starts? Who cares? I mean, do you realize if Jalen's not the starter, he's a very good quarterback. He's arguably one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the conference, but in the country. So if Tua is the better quarterback, well, then God bless you. You've got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country. And, if I'm Alabama, do I care? I would only warn you, be really careful. Be really careful. We've got a column up at College Football News talking about this, but when you break down Tua versus Jalen, his completion percentage is only just barely better than Jalen's. I know he's got the better arm, but he made more interceptions than Jalen. And when you look at it, we haven't yet seen Tua play an entire season. He was remarkable in the second half of the championship game. And if you made me pick one, I'd probably take Tua. But what does that say about how stacked Alabama is and how much talent you have in all the other positions that you're willing to bench Jalen to play a kid who's barely had any playing time at all?
So what do you think Nick Saban should do?
Man, this is why Nick makes $7 million a year, buddy, or 10 or whatever it is now. This is a tough position to be in. If it was me, I suppose I would look at it this way. I would probably say Tua's the better passing quarterback. You know you're going to be able to run the ball with, Harrison Harris. I would probably say, you can win with average quarterback play. Where you're really going to need a good quarterback is at the end of the year against Auburn in the Iron Bowl, in the championship game, and then in the college football playoff. So if that's the case, then get Tua as much playing time as you can in the beginning of the year so that when the end of the year comes around and you really need the best quarterback, Tua's had a whole year of practice instead of, just mop-up time.
All right, Russ, we're going to have to run through this SEC. What's your thoughts on the Auburn Tigers going into the 2018 season?
Stidham, right? It all comes down to Stidham. Is his shoulder real? First of all, I think they lose to start the season.
Oh, so Washington gets them?
Yeah, Washington's a good team. For those of you who haven't paid attention, why should you? Because it's the Pac-12. But, Washington's a very good team with a good defense. If Stidham's shoulder's not 100%, then, and I have no reason to believe it's not, but if it's not, then, I think they lose that game. The great thing about football now with four teams in the playoff is you can lose the first game from that money game at the beginning of the season, the big out-of-conference game. You can lose that and still run the table and make it to the championship game. So you make it into the playoffs. So, it all comes down to me. It all comes down to Stidham. If he's healthy, I think Auburn's got a very good chance to repeat as West champion.
All right, let's go to LSU. And I know we've got literally 6 minutes here, so we got to hurry. LSU, Coach O, what do you think?
And this is, if we're going to spend some time on a team, it's probably LSU. I have LSU 5th in the West.
Ooh, Lord have mercy.
So, and let me just explain why. So a couple of reasons. First of all, everybody talked last year about LSU, playing so many young kids and LSU playing so many young kids. And you and I talked about, and your listeners, we talked about this with your listeners, that really wasn't the case. LSU played a lot of returning starters and a lot of upperclassmen last year. They just played lots of people. They only have 10 returning starters this year. Offense and defense, LSU only has 10 returning starters. So right out of the gate, that's tough, right? Next, if Joe Burrow is so good that Joe Burrow is the transfer quarterback who came down from Ohio State, carpetbag. If Joe Burrow is so good that he can walk onto a new campus and immediately pick up a new offensive coordinator scheme, who, by the way, is a new offensive coordinator for everybody. If he can immediately adapt to a new culture, he's a northern boy coming down to the South, the deep South. If he can immediately, suddenly he's got, 13 new opponents that he has very little experience with, right? If he can do all of that and be awesome, he'd be the starter at Ohio State. So if you're an LSU fan and you think Joe Burrow is going to save your bacon, next, everyone says, well, they get Alabama and Georgia at home. Yes, and I know it's a crazy place to play. Yes, every Bama fan knows that. Every Auburn fan knows that after last year with that ridiculous choke of a loss on Malzahn, which was the greatest SEC comeback in the history of college football in SEC football in Death Valley. Alabama and Georgia are going to win those games. They'll be favored in both of those games, which means for LSU to do well, they're going to have to win on the road. And I don't think this LSU team's got enough talent and enough experienced talent. When you stack all that up and how things spin out, I like State and A&M over LSU. I've got LSU 5th in the West. I've got Joe Oliva losing his job, the athletic director before Christmas, and Odron being shown the door.
All right, Russ, listen, literally in about 90 seconds, give me your thought. Because, listen, you and I could do 2 hours. Okay. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, real quick.
I like Jimbo. It's basically this entire team. You can say what you want, but they've got a nice front seven on defense, but the offensive line has been Swiss cheese. It'll be Swiss cheese again. It's daycare running routes for Texas A&M. There's nobody with age or experiences in the wide out. And who cares who plays under center behind that, Starkel or Mond? It doesn't matter. So, but they're still better than LSU.
Okay. Chad Morris, let's forget about that.
Lots of offense, just lots. All you want out of Arkansas is some excitement. So I think you'll see lots and lots.
All right, well, let's skip Ole Miss and let's just go quickly to Mississippi State. Can Joe Moorhead take them where they want to go?
Yeah, a lot of people sleeping on State. And by the way, if you're an Alabama fan, you pay attention. State almost always plays you all really tough. They like to play that sort of LSU, Alabama, very physical defense. They usually can't hang in there for 4 quarters because they don't have the depth. But this is a defense that's going to come back playing that same sort of football. And Moorhead loves that kind of football too. He's a better offensive quarterback coach, in my opinion, than Mullen. And they've got, if Fitzgerald's ankle is better, and everything I hear is it is, they're going to be really, really a dark horse, a good dark horse to win the West, Mississippi State.
Find him, Russ Mitchell, CFB. Russ Mitchell, CFB. This is going to be the Wednesday spot with Russ Mitchell, man. It's good to hear your voice, man. You bring the electricity back to T-Town. I appreciate you, man.
Hoorah, baby. Football.
Hey, August the 1st, 46 hours away. I mean, we're about to go crazy here in Tuscaloosa. Russ, I appreciate you, man.
Football, football, football.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, man.
Later.